Okay, welcome to section 2.2b of solving one-step equations. Today we're going to use multiplication and division. So yesterday we talked about solving one-step equations using addition and subtraction. One of our rules was, whatever we do to one side, we have to do the exact same to the other side. That rule is still true today, and it's going to be true throughout our entire solving equations processes. So get that rule in your mind. One thing that's going to be different today is yesterday when we had like r plus 5, since it was a positive 5, we used a negative 5 and a negative 5. Okay? Today, that is not going to be the case. When we're solving an equation with multiplication and division, we're going to use the same sign as the number we're moving. So like in our first example here where we have 5x equals 30, okay, when we go to move the 5, we're actually going to just divide by a 5, okay, not a negative 5. We're going to use the same number as before. So one important thing to be able to tell today is, okay, first of all, remember that when a number is beside a variable, that is the operation of multiplication. So we go to solve this first problem. We have 5x equals 30. Okay, put my line in there. Again, cover up the 30. Looking at just the 5 and the x, we need to determine, are we multiplying or dividing there? Then in this case, of course, 5 next to the x means we're multiplying. The opposite of multiplication is division, so we're going to use division to move the 5 away from the x. Okay. Again, like I said, we're going to use a positive 5 when we divide here. And we're going to show division using fraction bars instead of a division symbol. Okay, so we're going to write the fraction bar and the bottom 5 on the bottom, which means divide by 5. We're going to do that on both sides, because whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Okay, 5 divided by 5 is 1, which in multiplication cancels out. So we're just going to view this as going away. Just like yesterday when we added a positive and a negative, they canceled. Same thing when we divide a number by itself, it goes away. Okay, so on this side we're left with just x, and on the right side, 30 divided by 5 is 6. So we get x equals 6. Okay, and if we want to check that, we can go back and think 5 times 6 is 30, so I did it correctly. Moving to the next one. We see we have a fraction with r on top and 3 on the bottom equal to 7. Okay, fractions, remember, fraction bars are division symbols. Okay, so here we have r divided by 3 equals 7. So we cover up the 7, we see we're dividing. Okay, so the opposite would be multiplication. And one thing that's important here is when I'm thinking about this, I'm going to extend this fraction bar a little bit. When I'm multiplying by 3, I'm actually multiplying the top by 3. So I put the 3 on top of the fraction there. Okay, now I have a number on top and the same number on bottom, therefore I can cancel that out. And then I need to do the same thing on the other side, which is multiply by 3. So I'm left with r equals 21. And that would be the solution there. Next one. Okay, again, almost the same as the first one, except for it's backwards. The k is on the right side instead of the left side. Something we dealt with yesterday a lot in our adding and subtracting. Not a big deal. Again, we cover up the negative 16 since that is the side without the variable. Okay, and we just look at the negative 2 and the k. Since they are being multiplied together, I'm going to divide. Now, like I said earlier, when we divide by the exact same number. So we're going to divide by a negative 2. Divide by a negative 2 on both sides. Okay, on the right side, negative 2 on top, negative 2 on bottom means they cancel out. So we're left with just k. On the left side, negative 16 divided by negative 2 is positive 8. And then remember, I always want the variable written on the left when we're done, so let's just flip that around. So we have k equals 8, and that will be our solution there. Again, okay, we start here at this problem, and we cover up the side without the variable. So we're going to cover up the 12. Okay, we look and we see it's y over negative 5. Remember again, the division bar means divide, or the fraction bar means divide. Okay, so we're going to extend that fraction bar a little bit. Okay, we're going to put that we're going to multiply negative 5 on top. Okay, that way I have a negative 5 on top and negative 5 on bottom. Those things cancel out. And we're left with y equals on that side. If I multiplied by negative 5 on one side, I have to multiply by negative 5 on the other side. 12 times negative 5 is negative 60. Okay? So then that is our solution. And again, remember, you can always check these things. Okay. One good way to check this is originally this was y over negative 5 equals 12. I just said that y should be 60. So if I put negative 60 over negative 5 equals 12, is negative 60 divided by negative 5 12? In this case, it is. Okay, so showing that means, showing the fact that I get 12 equals 12 means that that is, in fact, the correct answer. Okay, that's an easy way to check yourself to be sure that you've done it correctly. You can do that on a calculator just to be sure that it is correct. That is basically all that we are adding today. Okay, there's not much difference between yesterday. Okay, so the four kinds of problems that we have learned so far as solving equations is something like this, right? Where in this case they're adding, so I use a negative 6 and a negative 6, so we get r equals 3 minus negative 6 would be negative 3. Okay. The other one that we've learned is, of course, when you have a negative number, something like negative 7 plus y equals negative 11. Okay, in this case, right, a negative 7, I got to use the opposite, so it's positive 7, positive 7. Okay, those two cancel, so y equals negative 11, positive 7 is going to be negative 3. Okay, that was yesterday's stuff. Then today's stuff, of course, could have something like 21 equals negative 7k. Since they're touching, that means it's multiplication. The 7 and the k are touching, that's multiplication. Therefore, I need to use division and division. Remember, in multiplication division, we use the exact same number, so it's negative 7, so I use a negative 7. Those cancel to give me k equals 7 divided by negative 7 is negative 3. Sorry, 21 divided by negative 7 is negative 3. And then, of course, flip those around. Okay, and then the last type of problem that we're going to see is something like m over 5 equals 3. Okay, this of course is a division problem because the m is being divided by the 5, so the opposite would be multiplication. So I extend that fraction bar out, multiply by 5 on top, multiply by 5 on the other side. These two 5's cancel out, and I'm left with m equals 3 times 5, 15. So my answer there is 15. Okay. All right, you're going to have an assignment. Make sure you're paying attention to your sign work. Be very careful on your positives and your negatives and making sure you get the right thing for your answer.